Hi, my name is Logan Walker with the Walk of Life podcast, where I interview people, break down their lives, and get to know what they know. Welcome, Julie Gass. Julie, introduce yourself a little bit.
Hello, I'm Julie Gass. I am a mother of 3, a grandmother of 1. I am a teacher and an instructional coach. And I don't know, kind of started off in Yuba City, California, and moved to Marshall, Missouri when I was 10, and have been pretty much stuck here since.
Oh, wait, where did you say you started from?
Yuba City, California.
You said that was north.
It is. It's in North Valley.
Northern California is beautiful.
Yeah, and way different from Southern California.
Right. I feel like that's a little misconception. It's like all of California is lumped together, but it's really like there's the south and then there's the north.
It really is. Kind of like in Washington where you've got your east and your west.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's like the east side people's like, oh, you're from the West Coast? I'm like, yeah, but don't put me in Seattle. It's like, I'm not from King County, so you don't have to throw stones over here for no reason, but...
Right, I relate too because I'm from the valley, so it's very agricultural. Mm-hmm. And when everybody thinks of Northern California, then they think of San Francisco, and that's very different too.
Very true. Okay, so the first question that I ask everybody who comes on is, what do you want your legacy to be? So, like, when you pass away and someone says, do you remember Julie Gass? What would you like them to say?
Well, hopefully they'll say that I was a good teacher and good to them when they were in school, as I have been teaching for over 20 years, so I've had a lot of students pass through.
I'm curious, what is your definition of a good teacher?
Somebody that they know cared about them, that pushed them, and let them see that their talents and realize their potential.
Yes, I feel like that's a very tough one, is making them realize their potential. That's, haven't figured that one out yet.
That's all of it, right? Once they figure that part out and they have confidence, then they take off.
They're like, oh yeah, I'm actually good at this. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what happens when you try a little bit.
Yeah, it's the whole motivation piece that can be kind of difficult.
Yeah. I'm not a big motivation guy because I feel like motivation, like, goes away. It's like a dopamine hit, you know. It's like flares your blood, and you're like, today I'm super motivated, and then tomorrow I'm tired, you know. So it's like, how do we find the balance of keeping them wanting to get better every day?
Feedback, always, and also having the energy for them. You know, every day you have to be on, which means you're exhausted by the end of the day as the teacher.
Yes.
But when you're on and you have the energy, then they pick up the energy.
That's one of the one things I noticed from you right off the bat, and I had no idea who you were. Like, I could feel you when you walked into the room. Like, your posture, your energy, it was like upbeat, smiling, happy all the time. So all of the positive, like, body language, you had it from the get-go. And I was like, okay, who's this person? And then it happened every single time I seen you. I'm like, how is this possible? Like, I'm exhausted. I've been here for like 2 weeks and I'm absolutely exhausted. Like, how is she doing this?
Yeah, because I love what I do. And honestly, as soon as I walk in the building, I'm happy to be there. And so that just kind of, I guess, shines through in a way. I'm also a morning person, which makes it easy. So I'm that annoying person that wakes up like super happy and excited to be awake. And so, my sleepy 8th grade students, first hour were, not always super happy with my disposition, but by the end of the hour, they were with me and awake, so that was good.
Yeah, I'm definitely a morning person, too. I call it the 4 a.m. club. We got the 4 a.m. club, you got the 5 a.m. club, you got the 6 a.m. club, and then after that, it's like...
more, I think the 5 a.m. club.
Good little 5
sure.
o'clock.
Yeah, that's when I'm awake. But, yeah, that's pretty much, I just try to have a good outlook on things and stay upbeat and positive, and they pass that to the kids so that they they can also be positive about what they're doing. Because if you come in with a bad attitude and you come in not excited, then they're automatically going to pick up on that and mirror that. So
I feel like it's huge with math specifically because it's such a negative connotation with it. That's like, oh, I gotta go to math class. It's gonna be boring. But like, if I'm there and I'm hooping and hollering like I'm playing a game, then I feel like that's got to spread to them a little bit.
they do. They catch it, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was a social studies teacher, so that's even worse. Like,
Especially for me.
yeah. So there are
social
those
studies.
students who are like, oh, why do we have to be in social studies? Like, this isn't even important. Like, it's not math and ELA. And I'm like, oh, but it is ELA. You know, it's a lot of what you really need to take away from ELA are, you know, your critical thinking skills and your nonfiction comprehension. Like, that's super important for you to be able to evaluate what you've read. So that's what we practice. But yeah, social studies was also another one that not all kids are super excited about doing. So I had to try to make sure that, like you said, make it as fun and engaging as possible. And then I think with math, though, the biggest thing is just making it attainable, starting where they're at and telling them, hey, you got this. This isn't hard. We're going to start right here. You can do this. And once they feel like they can and they're successful and giving that feedback while they're being successful, yeah, you got it. Good job. Let's go to the next one and try it again and just keep just like a video game, giving them that feedback.
Right. And that's why I do like the iReady program. It's like individualized because like they're actually working at their own pace if you can get them to do it.
I know, you have to get them motivated. That goes back to talking to them about their success. And you have to, and it takes time to like cut that out. And you also have to have classroom management so that everybody else is doing what they're supposed to be doing while you're having those conversations. So it's a juggling piece for sure. But if the kids aren't thinking about their learning and setting their own goals, you setting them for them, especially by the time they're in 8th grade, it's not going to be effective.
So when you were the social studies teacher, were you having your kids set their goals in your class?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I've thought about this, but I don't think we did it. Or at least Jennifer and I have done it.
Yeah, not everybody did. But yes, I did. We set a class goal and we set personal goals. And so every time we took a test, we would reflect on that test. And they had a little reflection sheet that they filled out. Would kind of put down all the activities that we did for that unit. And the kids reflected on it to give me feedback about what activities were helpful and what activities were not. And then they also reflected on their behavior. What behaviors did they have that were helpful and what ones probably hurt them. And then we took the pretest, and then they made their goal based off of the pretest for the next one. So it was a whole day of nothing but, like, setting goals and reflecting on our goals and did we meet them or not. And so, yeah, that, and believe it or not, 8th graders get excited about that. One of the things, if they got 100% on their social studies test, then they got to be king or queen for the day. I literally took yellow construction paper and made them crowns with a stapler, and they wore them the rest of the day. Like,
yeah.
they were so happy to be, king or queen for the day or whatever. And then their paper went up on the bulletin board, their test anyway. It was fun. But
that's awesome.
yeah, we celebrated.
It's the little things,
Yeah, and they're still kids. Like, even though they're bigger than me, they're still kids.
Yeah. Okay, so starting from the beginning, tell me about your childhood, where you grew up, and what it was kind of like.
Okay, so if you would have asked my teachers, or when my parents did talk to my teachers about me, they said I was very precocious. I'm still not exactly sure what that means, but I don't think it's good. I was a mess and a handful. Luckily, my father was a psychologist, so he could handle me. and help me. But I started out with double disability, so I'm dyslexic and ADHD. But in 1978 and early 80s, they didn't really diagnose that, and I was not the hyperactive kind. I was non-hyperactive, so really didn't get diagnosed. My teachers just thought I was bad, and they put me in what we call today ISS. From the time I was in kindergarten, I probably was in ISS most of the time until I was in 5th grade.
Do you think that has affected your social skills?
Possibly. Or I think really the ADHD affected my social skills worse. But it was not easy, that's for sure. And then obviously learning how to read was super hard when you have both of those. They kind of are on the same DNA strand anyway, so it's really typical to have both. But then when you're not in class to get instruction, that makes it even worse.
Right.
So, yeah, luckily when I was in 4th grade, I wanted to try out for the play, and I wanted to be the narrator, which had a lot of speaking parts. So I had to learn how to read so that I could get the part. And so that repetition and practicing reading so that I could be in the play is actually what taught me how to read.
With dyslexia, how did you teach yourself to read and like be able to like mix match? Like, isn't like flipping of words and such?
It's all there. It can be different for a lot of people. For me, the letters kind of move on the page, so I have to get them to sit still before I can read what they are. So it takes me longer, still to this day, takes me longer to read something, especially if I read it out loud. So it just, repetition is what did. I luckily have a high vocabulary, and language comes easy to me, so I understand the order of words in a sentence, so I can understand what would make sense for the next word to be, and then kind of go from there. But it honestly just took reading it over and over and over again to finally memorize what those words look like when I'm reading. But most of the time it's because I know what word would make sense to come next in the context. And if it's a new context, there's no way. And if I have to sound out a new word, still can't do it. Like my first year teaching, I pulled all the kids into my library, and I was super excited. I'd organized my library, and we were going to talk about all the different books they had, and I had them organized by genre. But I'd never seen the word genre before. And so when I was telling the kids about how I'd organized the books, I told them I organized them all by genres. That's what I thought the word was. And so like the next day I had to go back and let them know that.
And what grade was
it
that?
was genre. 4th grade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they might not have jumped down your throat like an 8th grader.
No,
Okay.
They didn't know. They didn't know any better, so they went with it, and then I had to correct it the next day. But, I mean, just even that, anything, if I ever see a word for the first time, the chances that I'm going to be able to decode it are pretty small.
Interesting. So when you sit down, because I know you read a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So when you sit down to read, is there any like environmental things that help? Like soft music in the back, or like a dead silent room, or like...
Yeah, it has to be dead silent because of the ADHD. I will not focus on what I'm doing. Also, I have to take notes while I read.
Okay.
Have to take notes. So I have to interact with the text as I'm reading to kind of keep my focus. That's more not the dyslexia. That's more the ADHD piece.
Okay.
But I can comprehend super, super high. I just take a little bit longer to read the words because, like I said, they have to be still on the page first.
So I am the complete opposite. Well, I have like a ADHD too, but like I never knew it.
No, I didn't either.
Someone's like told me it was probably like 6 months ago. They're like, "Do you think you have ADHD?" I'm like, "No. Like, why would you say that?" And I thought about it. I'm like, "Well, I'm constantly fidgeting, and when I sit down and read, I cannot focus. Like, my comprehension skills were so low that it took me so long to get through each word that by the time I read the sentence, I was already in space. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about what's my next task, what am I going to do later in the day, what am I going to eat for dinner. Like all these things are just like cycling through my head, and I'm like, well, I just read a page. What did I read? And so that has been the biggest struggle for me. And I read the book The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Thank you so much to my dad's half-brother. He gave it to me on my way to college last year. And so that's when I began reading. And he said, read 10 pages a day. So I started that. I said, okay, 10 pages, easy. And so I started to read, and I was like, wow, 3 months later, I can actually comprehend what I'm reading. It's crazy how if you actually put your mind and discipline yourself to actually do it, you're actually going to get better.
Yeah, it's practice. That's what, we tell the kids too. I'm an instructional coach now, and I go in and help teachers with their craft. Teaching is not something that you just come out doing a perfect job right off the bat. And so when they struggle with their students getting a lesson or cooperating or behavior or anything like that, they come to me and we kind of talk about some strategies that we can use to make things better. One of the topics that comes up a lot is, do I read to my students or do I make them read? And we're talking about middle schoolers, so my answer is always, well, they need to be reading. Because if you're reading to them, then who's doing the work? And how are they getting any better? If they don't practice reading, then they're not going to get any better at all. So there are definitely lots of tools that you can use to help them while they're reading, so that no matter what level they are, they're going to be successful, but they need to be doing the practice. So that's exactly what you were saying.
So is that like individual? Because I know, like, or at least here it's been like popcorn reading out the window.
No. Yeah, not out loud. They don't need to be able to read out loud to comprehend what they're reading. So take that
actually
stress
helps
away.
me.
Does it?
Yes.
You can.
Now I read, like, if I'm in my room reading, it's...
Yeah, or whisper. Yeah, that's what I was
saying.
saying. You can teach them to whisper read to themselves if that's what they need. But I don't make them read out loud to each other or to the class, ever. No, that would be putting extra stress on kids. And as we know, when we go flight or fight, we lose our ability to make sense of things and to reason, which you kind of need to do when you're reading to comprehend. So we don't want to do that to kids.
That makes a lot of sense, because I've had this talk with a couple people, and I'm like, I don't understand, but the fight or flight, that makes 100%. They're like, oh, it gives them anxiety. I'm like, okay, well, that's something we can work on, right? If you're under stressful situations, often you're going to get accustomed to these, I would presume, right? That's like anything. And so I never really understood, but the fight or flight, that makes a lot more sense into why we do that. Okay. No one ever gave me a backstory of why this is out the window. They just told me, don't do this anymore.
Well, that's because they're not the instructional coach. That's how I got my job.
Okay, so what is a life lesson you learned at a young age that you never forgot?
Good question. Okay, I got it. So going back to my double disabilities and my birth order kind of plays a part in this. I'm the oldest. I have a brother who is 4 years younger, and he's a genius. Legitimately, literally a genius. Which is kind of hard to swallow when your brother is 4 years younger than you and way smarter than you.
Mm-hmm.
So it upset me. You know, I figured it out pretty quick that he's catches on a lot faster. I could learn something in school and come home and tell him about it, and then he knows about it like right away, like he picks it up. And then as we got older, he was excelling at things that I was not excelling at, and that whole little competition thing and sibling rivalry thing kind of came into play, and it depressed me. Mm-hmm. It was hard to swallow. Luckily, like I said, my dad's a psychologist, so at night when I was upset in my room, he'd come up and talk to me, and, you know, he'd wonder what was going on, and I told him what I was upset about, and he's like, you know, let me tell you a secret. In life, how smart you are is not what determines how far you go.
Amen.
And you have tenacity, and that will carry you much farther than anything else. And I remembered that. And I have used that tool to get to where I'm at, because I am by no means the smartest person I know. But I work hard, and I stick to it, and I know how to set smaller goals to reach bigger goals. And I've just used those skills to get to where I'm at. And so that's kind of the lesson I push on to kids, too. And that's how I
How do you
motivate
kind
them.
of push that on? Just by having the conversation? Or
Yeah, just let them know that, hey, you know, if you don't have it right now, you keep working towards it, you'll get it. I hope you get it. We can do it. We can do this. And it just takes a little effort. Yep.
Coming back to the competitive side, do you feel like that is a natural sort of instinct in human beings to have that competitive nature?
I think it varies in degree from kid to kid or person to person. But I think it's pretty natural for siblings to have a little bit of rivalry. You know, you want to have a position in your family. I think that's pretty natural to be able to define where you stand, what you contribute to your family. And it was hard for me being the oldest and not be the wisest.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I've got 2 older sisters, 10-year gap. So I was, from about as far as I can remember, it was just me. So I was basically an only child for an extensive period of time because, like growing up, like my sisters were in college, so it's just me and my parents. So I was like, I don't know. It's I never really had that sibling competitiveness. I only just like, I don't want to lose anything. Anybody.
Against everybody else, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, honestly, it's natural, and everyone just, to the fact that nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants somebody else to be better than them. I feel like that is a natural thing that we can take into teaching to a degree. I already see the concerned look on your face.
No.
But,
no, don't. You definitely use that to your advantage, because if the kids are being competitive and they want to beat each other, then that's a natural motivator for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, what was your middle school and high school experience kind of like?
Okay, so I moved in middle school from Yuba City, California to Marshall, Missouri, which was a culture shock, to say the least. I felt like I had gone to Mayberry. Like, if you're familiar with Andy Griffith's show from the 1950s or 60s, you'll know what I mean. Very small town, very quaint, very antiquated, just very different. And when I did, I was better. Like, I could read. I was on level with reading at that point. Math, I was a little bit higher than the rest of the people in Marshall, Missouri. So they put me in the high math class. They put me in the high reading class. But I still wasn't perfectly behaved, and trying to find my spot in this place that, everybody was fascinated by the fact that I was from California, which was weird. My school was 3 stories, which was crazy weird. My house had 4 levels, which was weird because in California, where you have earthquakes, you don't build things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't have basements. So, it was just very different. And I had a hard time deciding exactly who I was going to be in this new place with these new people that have different backgrounds than what I'm used to. So I struggled a little bit at first, and I did not please my teachers right off the bat. I'm also a little bit on the argumentative side. And when I moved and teachers were talking about things, especially in social studies, which happens to be my passion, they were talking about like the size of different places, and they were talking about how New York is bigger than LA, and I was like, no, it's not. And they're like, yes, it is. The population is blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, so what? The square foot is blah, 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 blah. Like, that did not go over well
Yeah.
with my social studies teacher in 6th grade. Another thing that happened, my dad was a college dean of American Humanics at Missouri Valley College. That's why we moved here, because Valley had the #1 American Humanics program in the country. And my dad had grown up in the Boy Scouts and then worked for the Boy Scouts, and then decided to switch gears, and he built the YMCA and was the director of the YMCA in our town in Yuba City. He had a college degree in teaching and taught night classes in psychology because that's his doctorate. But he always wanted to teach people how to run nonprofit organizations. So we moved to Missouri, in Marshall, and he starts working at Missouri Valley College. Well, I am in a 6th grade English class, and the English teacher sends home an assignment. We're supposed to write some kind of story. I don't remember what it was about, but what I do remember is she said we had to have a parent check our work. Well, my mom had taken advantage of the fact that my dad was now employed at Missouri Valley College, so she went back to school to get her bachelor's degree. So she was gone at night a lot in night classes. So then I was left with my dad to look over my homework. Well, I'm dyslexic because my dad's dyslexic as well, and he didn't know that. He's never been good at spelling. And so when I had my dad edit my paper, he did not catch my spelling mistakes.
Mm.
He signed my paper that he edited my paper, and I took it to my English teacher, who called me out in front of my whole class. My first year in this building, my first year in Marshall, and said I was lying, that I had forged my dad's signature because no professor at Missouri Valley College would spell this bad.
How did that make you feel?
Oh, I went home crying. I
What
went
was-
out of
what
the
was
class
your- what
crying,
was-
and I went home crying.
What was your immediate reaction?
I was mad. She just told me that, one, I was liar, which I'm not, and two, that my dad was not smart. You know, she like basically embarrassed me and my dad in front of all these strangers. So I was beyond mad.
Did you act out during class? Did you walk out of the class, or did you just like kind of like shut down and like not talk?
I shut down and did not talk. I'm probably glared at her the rest of the hour. But then when I got home and I brought my paper back and told my dad what had happened, my dad didn't take that very lightly. So he came up to the school and demanded that the teacher apologize, and then demanded that I be taken out of her class.
Wow.
And put into the other teacher's class that taught ELA. And the principal said, well, we don't do that. And my dad said, well, you're going to do it this time. And he goes, and I don't want any Pygmalion effect either, which is I don't want that teacher going and telling the other teacher that my daughter caused a problem, because my daughter was not the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was put in another teacher's classroom, and everything else went smoothly from that point on. But that was kind of, I had a few bad experiences, and this is the same middle school that I'm at now,
Mm-hmm.
like that I teach at now and everything else. So when I came back to be a teacher and I got hired, the librarian was still there. Like, she one of the very few people that were actually still there. And she was shocked to see me there as a teacher. In fact, she looked at me and went, "You're a teacher now?" Like, what?
Didn't you have enough trauma from
Right.
these people?
She literally said, "Did we treat you well?" Like, she said that to me. So she remembered, obviously what had gone down, and
Right.
was surprised to see me there in the building. But I was there to make it better.
So do you feel like your dad sticking up for you like he did created a stronger bond between you two?
Oh, my dad, yeah, all the time. Like, he is definitely the patriarch of the family, and, you know, my rock and my reason, and always has been, and definitely made me, you know, very proud of my dad.
Yeah.
And then it kind of reinforced what he's always told me, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, your weakness does not define you.
Mm-hmm.
Look where my dad was. He couldn't spell, but he had secretaries that could.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right, yeah.
you don't have
You
to be
find
able
a
to
way.
smell in order, you know, spell. That does not mean that you're intelligent or not. It's a totally different compartment. So I learned to compartmentalize my weaknesses and not let them keep me back,
Right.
because I had a role model that could do it.
Did you have any bullying experiences? Because I've had a few conversations about middle school females, and they are horrendous. Middle school girls are the most ruthless thing I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, kind of just like at home with your sibling rivalry. It's like they want to own a role or a place in the school or in their class. They want to define themselves. And so in order to do that, some of them will cut down somebody else to get to their place. Like, if there's somebody that's competing for the spot you want, then yeah, you're going to take them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
I got bullied because I was a chubby kid and all the other things. So on top of all that, not coordinated, chubby.
Especially, I mean, Marshall, it's big for, like, I'm from super small town as well, and but Marshall's not big.
No.
So these people, or these students, I had already strong connections on them.
Yes.
So you are the new kid on the block. So they're like, okay, this is where you're at. This is what place you're in.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, it took a minute to find a place to be in, and honestly, the least judgmental people are the people that became my friends. You know, and that's all that really mattered. You know, at the end of the day. And I made one best friend that she is still my best friend today. Like, she lives in Carrollton. She went to college with me. Like, we grew up together from the time I moved here. We're each other's people. So I was so thankful for her. And no matter what happened, no matter what kind of bullying, we were always there for each other and stood up for each other. So I don't know, thankful for that one person.
It's pretty cool to have a relationship that's lasted that long. I feel like a lot of people get lost when life changes and environments change and people move. It's like your friends that you were so close with and have so many memories with at a young age, it kind of dwindles as everyone kind of branches off and kind of goes their separate ways in life. Yeah. I've got a few as well. Grateful for them, thankful for them. Can't imagine life without them.
Right.
But we're definitely not as close as we once were. But every time I come around, I'm like, okay, what are we doing? Like, I'm home.
Yeah.
Like, where are you guys at? What are you guys doing? Like, let's have a time to hang out. And it's like every time, right on the money, we just flow through conversations and catch up on life. And I love to see where people's minds are at. What are their goals? What are they thinking about? Like, one of my favorite questions is, what do you think about when it's just you in your room, just you and your thoughts? Like, what goes through your mind? What's that to you?
What goes through my mind? Usually, how can I do something better? Like, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so I want to perfect everything around me. Like, what can I do to be better at this? What can I do to be better at that? How can I improve this situation? So a lot of times that's where my mind is. How can I improve my relationship with God? How can I improve my relationship with my children? How can I be a better, sister? How can I be a better mother?
Yeah, I'm the same exact way. It's always what in my life needs to improve for me to improve. One of my favorite things, and like, I'm a big David Goggins fan, and like, that's my guy. Like, I look at a role model, it's him, because he pushes on always, going through all the hard stuff on purpose. Like, choosing the hard route is the route, right? And I'm like, 100%, like, I'm with you.
Yeah.
But he stresses, I don't ever take a vacation. I think a vacation for me is the most empowering thing I can do. I have to go for like 2 or 3 months, grind, and then I sit back for a week, and all I do on vacation is thinking, replan my schedule. I'm like, okay, I'm good. I've gotten pretty good at this. This area in my life is weak. What am I doing to improve this? And that's like, I'm like, every time I come back from vacation, I'm like, let's go. Like, I need to do this and this and this. I struggle with overloading myself, but finding the balance to life.
Yes.
I'm just trying to figure that out.
I'm 45 and I'm still horrible at it. Like, horrible at it. So I agree.
I am also really nervous about, I'm a big journaler. So like, planning my day out in advance, that is a killer, because I'll make a list of 45 tasks to do that all take an hour.
But I think it's going to take like 30, you know what I mean? Like, I never think it takes as long as it actually takes to do either. That's the other thing. I always overplan, and that was in the classroom too.
Which is, I put stress on myself with that, because I'm like, I am failing.
Yep.
I'm not doing what I need to get done. What is happening?
Yep.
I tell people, I was like, if the day was 30 hours long, that'd be perfectly fine.
Except for then I would plan 50 hours worth of stuff.
That's fair. Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yep.
So was teaching always the dream? If so, what was one of the biggest lessons you learned in college?
Okay. Teaching was the dream off and on. Like, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a social studies teacher. My dad, from a little age, would watch me with my brother and, oh yeah, you're going to be a teacher, you're going to be a teacher, you're going to be a teacher, kind of a thing. But when I got to college, I also was very interested in improving myself. I shared that I was a overweight child, Always struggled with that, and in high school learned how to eat very healthy, regulate what I did, exercise, and kind of control my weight that way. And I wanted to help people, which is also why I like to be a teacher too, but I wanted to help people who were struggling with the same things. And so I talked about going to exercise physiology, or I thought about being a dietitian. My aunt, one of my favorite role models, my mom's sister, she is a dietitian. And I knew that anything in the health field, healthcare was going to be lucrative, and I could still help people out. And so when I went to college, I actually majored in dietetics first instead of teaching. But then I realized there's a lot of math involved in dietetics and a lot of science, and I was weak in both areas, probably because I didn't have math until I was in 5th grade. You kind of miss out on a lot of key things if you don't have math until you're in 5th grade.
Let me put this child and put him through COVID for the first quarter of their life.
It was, so anyway, I didn't do as well in those classes as I needed to do. And I didn't flunk or anything, but I just knew that I was struggling. So then I switched back to education, and the rest is history. That was a lot easier for me.
Yeah. Diet, that makes sense now. I've seen you in the gym grinding, so it makes sense now. Okay, so moving into the teaching aspect, how strict are you in your classroom management, and what tools or tricks do you have to keep students on task?
Okay, so I'm very strict. Most kids will tell you, if you ask them, she is strict, but she's fun. And so I think that's a pretty fair thing.
How do you get that balance? I struggle with that balance.
Yeah.
Like that's one that keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
So how do I be the fun, energetic guy that's strict?
I set the expectations first, and I'm serious about them. I follow through 100%. So if I tell you this is what I expect you to do, and I tell you this is what's going to happen if you don't do it, then I follow through. And that's what happens.
Okay.
And I can go from super smiley and energetic, happy, to we mean business. And, I've got the mom look, so usually, honestly, I can get a kid to straighten up by giving them a look. If that doesn't work, then proximity. And that's usually all it takes. Like, I don't usually have to verbalize much unless they're a super, super tough kid. And then we have, a quiet conversation about their behavior. And can you get it under control? And, and if not, then you're going to have to take your homework and go do it somewhere else. Here's the alternative assignment. Here's the fun thing we're doing in class. Which one do you want to do?
All right.
But I always plan fun things.
And have the alternative suck.
No, yeah. The alternative is you're going to read the book and you're going to take notes on this, fill out this piece of paper. Yeah, so it's pretty easy to make the decision to have fun with the rest of the class.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I just also, like, obviously I've known absolutely nothing about teaching, and I 100% understand this. But coming in to student teaching second semester, I think that's had a major struggle on my mental, because I'm like, this is not going the way. Like, I just don't have the initial, like, the boundaries and limitations of the classroom have already been established. They've been in school for 5 months now.
Right.
So it's, like, I realize this, but I don't accept it.
Right. No, I get that. I also went in as my second semester because, remember, I switched into teaching.
Right.
So that gave me an extra semester of school, basically. And so it was the second semester when I started. But the teacher that I was doing my co-teaching with, Elaine Kelly, amazing teacher and role model, she was very strict and also very fun. So I didn't have to worry about the culture of the classroom. It was already set
at
to perfection.
Your standard.
To perfection. You know what I mean? So I just had to keep it there. which was nice. And I had her there coaching me all the way. Couldn't have had a better mentor ever.
Yeah. So when I did my clinicals, which is like the 2 days a week observation, I went into this 7th grade math class, and it was like we were getting ready for Vietnam War. Like, you were dead silent. We were taking notes. There's nothing going on. Classroom management was great. I mean, no kid acted out ever. And I'm like, oh, God, this class is freaking boring. I'm like, can we do something like different or... And she was like, no, like, this is how it goes. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, okay. And then when I got into Jennifer's class, it's like complete opposite. Like, we're up and moving, I'm laughing, we're having fun and all that. But especially with BTC, it's a little too loose, I think. And I don't know quite how to get the balance this late. Yeah. Obviously, I think we've kind of lost this battle.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jen, but I think we should be a little more strict from the get-go.
I agree.
Yeah.
When I go in to co-teach BTC classrooms, I mandate that, hey, we need to have a rubric. We need to talk about the rubric with the kids and tell them like I said, outline the expectation. Talk about what happens when you don't meet the expectation. And 3/4 of that rubric, the expectation, is on behavior. 1/4 is actually the quality of work that they do. While they're practicing, I don't expect them to be perfect at the quality of work, but what they do have control over is their behavior. And so that goes everywhere from how well do they listen when I'm giving directions and explanations, how well do they work in their group as far as contributing, how do they treat people in their group as far as respect goes, and then the 4th piece is, okay, how well did you do on your problems? Did you need a lot of help from me? Did you need little help from me? Did you need no help from me? And it was based on a 4-point scale for each of those. And so we talk about that. And then we talk about, okay, so if you are at a 4, this is what that looks like. If you're at a 3, this is what it looks like. If you're at a 2, you're probably at your seat working by yourself on a piece of paper or on a whiteboard because you have lost the privilege of working in a group.
Right.
And like I said, it does take a lot of management to do BTC. It is definitely better if you have 2 teachers in there or a para if you have a large class to kind of help you, because that way, you can go back and forth and check on everybody. But you have to hold them accountable. So if you let them slide just a little bit, then they're going to slide more the next time, and more kids are going to slide. So like I said, it just goes back to that consistency.
Give an inch, take a mile, type of deal. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you've got to be so consistent. You cannot, and if you're not, they will pick up on it, and then you lose all control.
When did you, for people listening, BTC is Building Thinking Classrooms. If you really want to get into that study, you guys can go look at it. But when did you start BTC? It's more of a newer...
It is.
Right. Okay.
I just learned about it this year.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I learned about it secondary. Our math teachers went to the BTC presentation before I did. I had heard a little bit about it. I worked very closely with they call them RPDC, as our Regional Professional Development Committees. They offer free, to very, very low-cost professional development to teachers in the state. They're funded by DESE, and they are up on all the latest of all the educational strategies and techniques and ideas that are coming out. Everything's research-based. They're called Regional Professional Development Communities. Yeah.
Okay.
And so anyway, we have one in Warrensburg that I work very closely with, and I always just kind of let our teachers know what opportunities there are for professional development. I kind of give them a calendar of it each quarter so that they can sign up for stuff. Well, our math teachers decided that they were kind of interested in this concept of building thinking classrooms, and so they signed up to go, and they came back and they brought books back. And one of our teachers, Michael Holder, hates to read. So he told me he will not read his book. And I was like, oh, give me have your book. And he's like, I already put it on your desk. And I was like, awesome. So I took that book home and I read it over the weekend. And like I said, for me to read it, I'm going to annotate the heck out of it. I highlighted it. I've got sticky notes all over it.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. And the other part is, if I'm going to read something, I'm going to apply it. Like, I'm not going to waste all my time and energy to read something and not apply it if it's good. And obviously, I thought it was very good. So I made a plan on how we were going to apply this concept building wide.
What do you think the biggest benefit of it is?
Oh, engagement.
Engagement
By far. And not just engagement, because there's engagement when you're having fun, and then there's what we call cognitive engagement, and that's been a big shift in education in the last couple of years, going from, okay, every student is doing something, but are they really thinking?
Yeah.
To all the students are now thinking and participating. And building thinking classrooms, I think, lends itself very well to that if you do it right. But you also have to make sure that each kid in the group are taking turns doing the thinking.
Yeah.
Which is also a big piece of it.
This is one of my struggles with BTC too. Is at least in our classroom, I can't get them to work as a team very well. It's like, it's his turn to use a marker. Okay, great. You know how to do it. And like a lot of times I'm coming over there, I was like, oh, this part's wrong. And I look over at somebody else and they go, oh, this is how you do it. I'm like, why don't you just like help them out from the very beginning instead of making me walk all the way over here? Like, oh, jeez. I think it's much better now that I'm about halfway through. It's been a slow read for me, but the not giving answers and just circling, and then I just walk away, the other person's going to look at it and go, oh, this. Yeah. I'm like...
We have to teach them how to work in a group.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. They haven't... okay, so the whole idea and the reason building thinking classrooms came about is because they've done research on what kids do in a math class. And are they cognitively engaged? Are they mimicking?
Yeah.
Or are they not even doing either one?
The fakers.
Right. So, they found out that in most math classes, at best, they are mimicking, and they're not doing any thinking. And they're definitely not working in groups. So they're just sitting there receiving information from the teacher.
Yeah.
If they're doing that.
Me, in math, I was always inclined, so I was at the top of the math kind of scale in my little tiny school. And so it kind of came easy. So, like, if they showed me it on the board, I could connect 2 and 2 if they showed me how to do it. But anytime I hit that wall of it's worded differently and so, like, when I read this book, I'm like, this is me. Yeah. There was this book about me, I swear. Yeah. But it's good to see the change coming. I hope. I think it's going to be in the future for test scores. I can only imagine if you look at a problem and are able to think and like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I've never done this exact problem, but I can think and use my previous knowledge to get through it and most likely get it right.
Right. I mean, and that's a life skill that we, and you can use that not just in math. Like, this whole concept I've used and demonstrated in ELA and in science and in social studies. Right. And kids always take away way more, and they remember for the test whatever we did that project with. They always know it so much more than if we had presented it in another way. So it's definitely, it works. It just takes us to kind of improve on our classroom management. Mm-hmm. And we have to teach the kids how to do it. Right. Like, we have to teach them not only how to do the work, but we have to teach them how to work in a group. And after COVID, teaching them how to be socially respectful is a big job.
Yeah, it's
a big job.
A lot more difficult than I thought. I'm like, oh, help me. So how important is consistent parent contact?
Yeah. It depends. Well, good question. Obviously, I'm going to say it from the teacher's standpoint. The more you have parents on board with what you're doing and the more support you have, then the less trouble you're going to have with the student, right? But to get that engagement from parents is pretty hard in some areas. So very important to communicate with your parents and what's going on and how you're teaching and what it looks like and what your expectations are, and when their child is struggling, sooner the better. But there is, with some parents, I feel like there can be too much. Like if you are constantly calling and complaining, because that's how they're going to take it, about their kid, about the same things, they're going to get frustrated and they're going to tune you out, or they're going to stop answering the phone.
Okay.
Like it can happen that way. So, yeah, if it depends on your communication. If it's always negative, just like with any other relationship, you can't keep taking out of the bank without putting into the bank.
Right.
So I feel like positive communication is good as much as you can.
What's a good range? Like once a month, once a week, every couple weeks?
That's a really good question to ask your parents at open house.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's going to be different for everybody.
Gotcha. I never thought about that. Look at that. Learning something. So, we've already dove into building things in classrooms a little bit, but I just wanted to know what are your pros and cons of it?
Okay, well, we kind of talked about the pros being we're engaging students in thinking.
Yep.
The cons, we kind of talked about the management of it is difficult until everybody gets the hang of it. And then if you have a group of 3 and your roles are not clearly defined, or you're not holding them accountable for their role, the way it's designed is one kid should have the marker, the other 2 should be doing the thinking and telling the person with the marker what to do. And then they kind of rotate. And if they're not rotating and you have kids wandering around the room and clearly not being engaged, and you don't address that, then that kid is not going to learn anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That goes back to their mimicking or their stalling or their, all the other things that they would just be doing in their seat. So you have to address those things. And there's a way to do that, but if you're not consistent about it, then they're going to have gaps in what they're learning. And in every case, everybody's ability is going to be different. Their rate of learning one skill versus another is going to vary. Not every kid is going to learn a concept in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And so, with every program, not just with BTC, my frustration is always, if the kid just had another 20 minutes, they would have gotten it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have that 20 minutes to give the kid.
Right.
And so what do? How do you make sure that they get that skill when you run out of time? And that's always my frustration with education in every subject and in any way you teach it. It's just that time constraint, because we're not robots. We're not programmed to learn everything at the same time and the same rate. And we have a lot of objectives to cover.
A lot.
And they want us to cover them deep. And our kids already come 2, 3, 4, 5 years behind.
Yeah,
And
that's such a struggle too. When you have so many different kids on so many different levels, it's like, and you can definitely tell the parents that made their kids do stuff during COVID, because they're on level, and then there's some that are just, which I think is going to be the case either way, with or without COVID.
Right.
But I feel like the gap is so large.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of in-betweeners anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's either you are caught up or you are a long ways behind. We're missing fundamental skills to, 8th grade's, at least where I'm at, I'm speaking from my personal here, but it's starting to get into real math and some complex, concepts.
Yeah.
So they kind of have to know the basics to, we struggle with rounding.
Yeah.
That's a wrong answer on a test. It's rounding wrong. So even if you did everything right and you understand the flow of the mathematics and the concept that you're supposed to know, if you would just round wrong, we're wrong.
Right.
But yeah, I struggle with that, and it makes me frustrated, but we can't be perfect.
No, we can only do what we can do, and I think that's kind of goes back into the whole debate: is homework helpful or not? You know, and what is homework's place? And I totally think that we can't do it without homework, but you have to make sure that you give the right kind of homework. And parents, we need you to make sure your kids do it.
Yeah.
Like, honestly,
100%.
it's so important. We cannot give them enough time without it.
Yeah.
We just can't. And in order to be good at anything, we talked about that. In order to be good at reading, you have to practice it. In order to be good at math, you have to practice it. And there's just no other way around it.
So we did talk about the homework a little bit last week.
Last week.
Give me another little overview of what do you think the perfect scenario for math is?
Like, for math and homework?
Yes.
Okay. Well, and this I think applies to everything, but the first rule of homework is it should be 10 minutes only per subject. So it needs
Which
to be
seems manageable. I mean, what? There's like
Yes.
6. I mean, that's an hour a night. That's a lot of time for a young student to have.
And that's
that
assuming
time.
every subject gives you homework every
Right.
night, right?
Right.
But that's usually not the case.
Yeah.
I think it probably would average more around 30, 40 minutes a night. But also be aware if every teacher is giving homework, you know what I mean? Like, do I really need to sign this tonight?
Right.
Or can I wait till tomorrow night when there's not as much going home?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be aware of the kids' like load of homework for sure. But you don't want to give so much homework that it's more than 10 minutes in your subject. Another thing is it needs to be practice. So that does not mean the lesson you're doing right then and there. So if you're in the middle of teaching your lesson and you run out of time, it is not appropriate to say, okay, we got to question number 3. Now you guys finish the rest of the questions on your own.
Right.
Because that's a new skill that they're learning. And they can't go home and practice a new skill without support.
Right.
So that's where I see where kids don't do their homework, where parents get frustrated with homework.
Right.
Because the parents then have to take on the role to teach the kids
Which they're not
something
trained to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they haven't done it in a long time.
Right.
You know, so that's where we, I think, fail. And that's why we stopped giving homework, because we saw that was failing and didn't work. Homework should be those base skills that we've already taught that we just need to become more fluent at. So
you think like your homework should almost be assigned after like a double lesson, or is it like assigned the next day after we've truly covered the concept?
once they've had a chance to practice that under your supervision or with your help, then it truly becomes practice.
Okay.
So it should be a couple days after, or it can be the grade level below a couple days before. So you could
The grade level below.
preload. So like, let's say you're going to do long division in your math class. Okay. So to preload that, you're going to review multiplication and division, like simple division. So you would assign that homework to get them ready for the next level. So like when we're doing building thinking classrooms, you know how we say slicing? You start at the foundation
Yeah.
and then you build them up.
Mm-hmm.
So you can give them the foundation as homework that they've had
That they already know how to do, right.
Yeah. And then you're building a bridge for what you're getting ready to teach.
Okay, so the homework is really not over what you did in class. It's just more like a get ready for tomorrow type. Oh, okay.
Could be that, or it could be practice what we've learned
yesterday or
what we've already become. We know, but we need to become fluent at.
Okay. How do you find that balance though? Of like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of, like we already said, like the students are so different. Is it like baseline for each student?
Okay, so what the perfect scenario is homework should also be differentiated. Just like you have students who have individual learning plans or accommodations, your homework also needs to have, those are legal documents, so your homework needs to follow the same guidelines.
Okay.
And how many times do teachers do that?
I Never.
Yeah, I don't know very many either. And so that's super important that the homework also meets the kid where they're at. So you'd have to differentiate your homework.
So do we base that off of like the standardized testing of what level they're at, or how do we truly get a gauge of where students at? Just like
That's the
a
purpose.
subjective observation in class type of
You
deal?
can use that too, but that's why we give pretest.
Okay.
And so that's a whole nother change in thought too. Like people used to give the same pretest and the same post-test so they could measure growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
But truly your pretest should be all the prerequisite skills that you need that you're getting ready to go into, so then you know where to start.
Okay. I like that. Yeah. I mean, I've never had a class where I don't think I took pretests ever growing up, but
No, me either.
I like that idea. Yeah, I like that a lot.
So, yeah, but that's hard to manage. Like that's a lot
Oh, yeah.
for a teacher. So that goes back to like for me, if I could change anything for teachers, it would be double the plan time.
Right.
Because honestly, if teachers have more time to collaborate and work together and look at what their students can do and use that to drive their instruction, if they had time to do that every day.
But essentially, we're going to need more teachers, which we already don't have.
I know, but if they had, again, if they had more time to do those things, maybe they wouldn't be so stressed out.
Agreed. I just think, you're going to have to take less students on, right, if you add in plan time, unless we're extending the day.
Right.
That's what you want, to extend the day?
I'm just saying.
Keep them kids longer?
No.
They already lose their mind at 3 o'clock.
No. I don't think the kids should have. Everybody's plan time needs to be, it could be from 3 to 4.
Agreed. Yeah.
Kids can go home at 3, teachers stay till 4. And plan.
I feel like that was at least at my high school. I feel like it was supposed to be that way, but nobody ever did.
Right. Yeah. So the perfect answer to that, ready for this? Because I have one.
Okay.
How do we get that to happen? It's called career ladder.
Career ladder?
It's called career ladder. If we can get our district to approve career ladder, the state pays like 60%. The district pays 40%. I think that's the formula it is for now. But it pays teachers to do extra work.
I'm in.
Right? Exactly.
I'm in.
The other thing is it's for your veteran teachers. So right now we have a major issue with new teachers. We want to gain teachers, so we raise the base salary, but we cannot afford to raise everybody else's salary. So if we have career ladder, the more years you're invested, the more money you can make on your career ladder.
I like it.
So that already fixes your tier problem.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. The problem is it's a state-funded thing, and state funding does not last forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it can come and go, and it has came and gone.
Right.
And when it goes, it could cause teachers to leave.
Yeah.
So that's the negative. But I'm like, but if it's here, let's take advantage of it
Absolutely.
while we have it.
Does anybody actually have that in place?
Oh yeah, lots of school districts do.
Really? In Missouri?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I
So
wonder if they have that in Washington. I'll have to look into that.
you'll have to see, but no, that's the easiest way because funding is hard. So that helps.
Yeah.
And if teachers know that they're going to get paid to stay after and plan an extra hour of the day,
Right.
they're going to be a little bit more likely to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Especially with teaching salaries in Missouri. I mean, Washington's a little different, and California as well, but
Yeah.
definitely a little different here. Let's take a short break. I need to put some juice in this computer, so we'll take a quick little minute. Stretch your legs. Okay, we're back, and we're gonna shift more into like general education. My first question is, what is your biggest problem with the school/education system in general?
Accountability. Yeah, accountability at all levels. Like, I get frustrated when I know things can be better and tools are given for things to be better, but people don't use those tools to make things better.
And they're not held accountable.
apathy,
Okay, I
and
gotcha.
nobody holds anybody accountable for it. That frustrates me.
How does this start with administration? Where do we start?
Good question. I don't know. I mean, I always laugh because I have a degree to be an administrator. I never, I know that that's not the role that I could ever be in, because I would hold people accountable to like a fault. So I always giggled and said if I ever were an administrator, it'd have to be like the last semester before I retire, because they would not rehire me. I would make so many people mad that I would not be rehired. So I think that's a hard place to be, and that's why I'm not an administrator. I think that's the hardest job ever. And I know everybody truly does their best. Like as far as, especially in our district, our admin, they work really hard. But I think it's a society issue. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, our school board is accountable to our parents,
Mm-hmm.
and our admin are responsible to the school board. So, it's hard. It's hard whenever there's just, I think in general for society, accountability is an issue. Everybody wants to point the finger at somebody else for why their life is hard, or whose job it is to take care of a situation. And if that's how the mainstream are thinking, then you can't really solve problems.
Right. Accepting criticism is the way I like to see it. Being coachable in the sense of a sporting aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a reason why young students and individuals should participate in sports, is you get that accountability. Or frankly, if you enjoy what you're doing, you don't get to play. That is sadly, our society is shifting away from that. It's everybody gets a medal in a sense, but when you actually play it and you get into the higher levels, you don't get a medal for just showing up every day. It's the people that listen and do what your coach or the person that's trying to help you out is critiquing you on. You actually work to get better at those areas. Then all of a sudden, you start to play. And that's like one of the biggest lessons I've learned from basketball is when I went to a junior college, I was always the best person in high school, always the best player, whatever. But when I entered that new area of life, I'm the worst. I'm the worst player on the team. And it's like, what is this? And so he's grilling me, and he's like, I'm expecting you to be at this level, which I wasn't. Mm-hmm. And I can openly admit that, and I wasn't probably ready for it at that, which I thought I was, But he held me accountable to the highest degree. Mm-hmm. Like, if you didn't do what I asked, you didn't play. He's going to tell you exactly what you did wrong. All you have to do is do those things.
Yep.
And that's one of my junior college coach. One of the biggest takeaways I learned from him, and I will apply that for the rest of my life.
That's what I was going to say. Apply that to your teaching.
Exactly.
Because that's the secret right there.
Mm-hmm.
That is the secret right there. High expectations, high standards.
It's such a large scale problem, though. It's hard for me to. I mean, obviously we have to start somewhere, into revamping the conversation and the ideologies or whatever. But
yeah,
I just don't. I have no idea where to go with that.
Me either. That's why I'm choosing a different path.
I mean, you're going to be up there, though, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely things that we can fix in education, but the biggest problem in education, honestly, is just people's attitude about education.
What do you mean?
Like, how much they value it.
Okay.
The value put in education. And I think that's like, again, that's a social thing that you can't change.
But can we? There has to be something.
There's lots of things we can fix to help maybe that direction happen.
It's got to be like a snowball effect, right? We got to have like one little tiny win to lead us down.
Yeah.
And I know the thing is I know there's a lot of people that think like us, but they're typically I mean, like we were just talking earlier, the higher road people that are not going to create a huge conflict and go about pressing these issues when, I mean, at this point, they need to be pressed. I think we're at that point where we are going to fall behind as a nation, not just at our local levels. I mean, I think we are harming our kids more than we're doing them good to a certain degree.
Yeah, and I wonder too what it's like in other countries, because I don't know what their schools are like. What is their day like? What
I can tell you Spain. Most of my really good friends here are from Spain. You know, Missouri has a good program. It's not like here. Nothing's laxed. Their teachers show up in suit and ties, and they are expected to wear nice stuff. And when somebody talks, you listen. Like it's a respect thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's huge for them. And it's like they're like, it's so weird. Like I could talk to my friends here, like up here.
Mm-hmm.
Them, it's like we are here to learn, and their education is so prioritized that it's the best. That's the top thing for them.
Like the most important thing to them.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's stressed.
Yeah.
And they know that walking in. Like it's a whole society thing, which I think they go a little too far because they have like tests that like at the high school it's like you can get what jobs, like it tells you what jobs you can get.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
That tracks you
a little
much,
too far.
That far, yeah.
I mean I think we can all change past 18 years old.
Yeah,
You know, we
let's
can
hope so.
decide to get educated at 20 years old, but yeah, it's.
Higher stakes though, like if your education is that directly related to your future, and it is, like it is here in America. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I went into education. That's why, you know, like at the end of the day, I wanted to help people, and what makes the biggest difference in our life. To me, the answer is education.
Mm-hmm.
I just applied and got got hired to work for our teacher union at MSTA, and my letter of introduction that I sent with my application talked about my passion for education and where it comes from. And as a young kid, I noticed the difference between the people who have and who do not, and it bothered me like badly.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, so through observation and asking questions, basically I came to the realization that at the end of the day, the one equalizer was education.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't matter where you come from. If you have an education, you can change it. Right? You have the authority to pick your future.
Mm-hmm.
And the path is through education. And so I was like, well, I got to be part of that. Like,
Yeah,
I got to make this country better.
Yeah, exactly. I read what's his name? Michael Gladwell book. It's called What the Dog Saw, and it's like basically about perspective. And it's like, okay, so like high stakes finance, like people on Wall Street, right? So like their job is so competitive that like 100 people apply for this one job. One person gets it. You know, everyone else, they fail and they're out of a job or whatever. He said, imagine if we applied that to education. You got paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this. Say even low millions. How many people are going to apply for education? You're going to need the best educators. Like that's all you're going to get. Everyone else is going to have to go elsewhere, right? So if we had the best educators in place because it was so competitive just to get in, what would that do to our next generations? That's what he left it with. I couldn't help but wonder. I mean, the kids are going to be held accountable to the highest degree. These things that you said that you wanted to put in place, you could put in place because that's why these people are here. You know, they are the best possible, right? Or would you get just money chasers, you think?
Honest, the difference between being an educator and on Wall Street. Teaching is a craft. And it's something you have to develop over time. Like you can't, it's not just about how smart you are or what you know. It takes time to develop. and with Wall Street, it's, I think, yes, you develop, I guess, being more of a shark, you know what I mean, better at that. But I feel like, I don't know, I think the journey's just a little bit different. And I do think that money chasers, like, I don't want somebody who is in education just to make the buck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to have a lot more caring. You have to have a passion for kids.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a passion for and believe in what you do. So I'm not saying that teachers shouldn't be paid what they're worth at all. Like, I definitely think we're worth way more than what we get paid.
What do you think they're worth?
Well, they should at least not qualify for, like, services. I shouldn't be able to be on welfare and be a teacher at the same time. Let's just say that. I don't know. Let's look at what other professions pay for their doctorates, for their masters, for their specialist degrees, and at least start there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's make that proportional. Or, since we're doing a service for our country, could our country not forgive our loans? Could they not, like, as a, hey, you teach for 5 years, we'll cover your bachelor's, we'll cover your master's if you teach for another 5 years on top of that? Like, I don't know. We don't make any money. We're creating the future for our country.
Yeah, that's definitely undervalued. I agree with that 100%. That's one of the big reasons I got in, because I write my mission statement every morning, which is like my purpose.
Yeah.
And that is to shape the next generation in a positive manner. That's what I write down basically every morning. And I don't think people realize how big it really is.
Yeah.
You know, education. And these kids are spending 8 hours a day with me.
Right. And we're not just expected to teach them math. Like you said, it's our job. You know, like, we have them for a lot of their day, so we're also role models.
Role models. Yes.
And yeah, it's a big deal.
Those are the values that they were going to carry over.
So would you want somebody who valued it? We've had conversations about what is your center. If your center's about money.
So here's my thought, though. So if you are paying the teachers that much and it is that competitive, even if it's not your passion, right, and you have that many people applying for jobs, if you come in and it's not your passion and you, like you said, working on your craft, right, you work for 3 years and your craft doesn't improve, you are cut. Now that job is open.
Well, actually, it could be that way anyway. Right, we're set up that way.
But you have to have the people to fill it, which is what we don't have.
used to. Yeah, that is a change from when I graduated college to now. There were waiting lists. You could not, like in Marshall, you could not get a job right out of college and go to Marshall. No.
Oh.
No. I went to Sedalia. This was before Sedalia was able to get any bonds, and they didn't have all the factories that they have now. Like, they were in a different spot than where we are, and you can get a job in Sedalia, but you couldn't get a job in Marshall right out of college. Really?
I had no idea.
Yeah, so that's kind of flip-flop now. And it all started with the teacher, and I helped canvass for it, the teachers getting a bond passed.
Really?
And that actually started bringing in more businesses and building up morale, and now Sedalia has taken over.
Yeah, Sedalia is super nice.
Yeah.
That's where I go to
They've
church and
really
everything.
changed a lot. Marshall's changed not for the better.
So what are you starting here?
So what?
I said, what are you starting here?
Where am I starting here?
Yeah. Where's the bondage here?
We got our bond. We did. So we are starting to, like, we've got schools that we're getting built now finally.
There is a lot of, okay, I got you.
We started it. It's happening. So now, it's Marshall's turn. It's Marshall's turn to get back to where we were, and it's exciting.
I'm excited for the future of Marshall, to see what they have in store.
Yep.
What's a problem you're working on at the state level, and what do you think how do you think it will help the students?
Okay. Well, I've already talked about something that the state provides that I'd like us to take advantage of, and that's Career Ladder. that will allow teachers to get paid and encourage them to stay after, either for planning or even for tutoring. So that'll give students extra support.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's huge. And then I've already talked about too, where I'd like to see at the state level more support for teachers paying back their loans and supporting that so that we can get more teachers.
Right.
MSDA is really pushing for some bills in the House and the Senate to increase teachers' pay, their starting pay, which I think is good. But also causes a problem, like I said. How do you fund the rest of the tiers so that the teachers that are veteran teachers are also benefiting?
Mm-hmm.
That's an issue. There's only so much money to go around.
So they're just starting people out higher, and the
Mhm.
cap is still the same.
Mhm.
I gotcha.
Mhm. Yeah, because there's only so much money. Right now, there's a lot of people talking about vouchers, and we're halfway. Like the House has passed the voucher system that they are talking about now. They call it open enrollment. Senate has not. So crossing our fingers that the Senate does not, because that's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of schools. Mainly, it becomes an equity issue, and what'll happen is schools will start using their resources to compete for athletes instead of using that money to benefit education for all students. So that's something that at the state level I plan on continuing to be an advocate against. We know that a lot of times the small country schools have the best scores. The kids come out having a better education because there's a little bit more personalization. There's obviously a smaller teacher-to-student ratio.
Yeah. Which is huge, I think.
It is. And that's going to force those schools to close and consolidate.
Yeah.
And so with that comes a lot of issues too. So that's one of the things I think at the state level that I'm like against, that I want to keep from happening.
Yeah. So what do you guys just like go to the Senate and like advocate essentially?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The other one was, are you Christian, which you already answered, and if so, how do you try and implement Christian values into your classroom, or did when you were a social studies teacher?
Okay, well, I just live by example. You know what I mean? Like that's it, and I don't do it perfectly, but you know how you have your mission statement. I follow a lot of that same thing too, and in part of my mission statement is to love people. That's it. It's that simple. Just love people, and the rest, is up to God.
Right.
It's my job to love people.
I don't know Missouri's laws, or if this is federal. I know we can't say anything, right?
In the classroom.
So
we can before or after school. So we have FCA, which is our Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Yes. I have heard about that.
And they meet in the mornings before school.
And I never had that.
Yeah, no?
No.
Oh.
I never heard about that until this year.
Yeah, it is, and it's actually a nice program.
Student-led, I love that too.
It has some advisors, but yeah, it's student-led because teachers can't be in the role of the leader. They can just be there.
Even if it's like an organization?
An advisor. It has to be like a student.
That is so crazy.
When we're not in school hours, anybody can use the school building for any purpose. So I have to tell you this story because this is kind of cool. My church is still in Green Valley. I lived in Green Valley for a short amount of time, and my church is VCC, so it's Valley Community Church, and it actually uses an elementary school for its church building.
Really?
Because they want to give as much back to the community as possible. So freeing up funds that you would spend on a building, capital funds, we now can use for supporting our community.
Ah.
Isn't that cool?
You're always making something happen, aren't you?
I love it. I love it. I love what that church stands for. They have an amazing message every Sunday, and they truly are an example of loving people and using your resources to do so.
To do good, yeah. I know. I don't think every church is like that. So be thankful you found one like that. And even when I came here, like, I wasn't Christian when I came here. This was something I acquired here due to a good friend. But finding the right church, that's one of the toughest things. And luckily back home, God made it very clear to me where I needed to be.
Yeah.
So that was nice. I didn't have to fight that battle. I'll tell you a quick story. My turn for a story.
Yeah.
So it's 30 hours drive from here to Alabama, Washington, where I live. And so I took off at 3 p.m. on like a Friday. And I picked up my brother-in-law from the airport because we were going to like shift work it, right? And so we're driving. We drove to like midnight. And we're like, okay, we need to sleep. So we slept and for a few hours till about 6. And we kept going. We just did 6 on, 6 off, 6 on, 6 off. And we were like, okay, we're like on the edge of Oregon. Like we're going to stop in for the night. And I didn't account for the time change when I scheduled out the drive. And well, he's like, well, we just gained 2 hours. So like, do you want to push through? And I was like, well, sure, let's go. And so we got back at like 2 a.m. on Saturday or 3 a.m. And I got that next morning and went to church. And they're like, Logan, thank you so much for coming back. Here's a scholarship for your school for next year.
Oh.
And they welcomed me with a scholarship. And I was like, I was not even devoted to this church. Like, I wasn't Christian when I left here.
Right.
I just came in a few times in high school and thinking I'm a Christian, and then would pop in every once in a while. And then being in college, I dropped Christianity altogether. But when I came back, they're like, this is your home.
Aww.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like, that's how I knew I needed to go home. And people are asking me, like, you should stay in Missouri and teach. I'm like, I have a calling to be home. God has told me that's where I need to live. So, yes. And it's been many other signs other than that, just one. But that was my biggest one. And I was not supposed to be there. I wasn't supposed to get that scholarship. But
right.
yeah, I wasn't supposed to make it. I was supposed to stay the night. But it worked out for the better, so he really opened my eyes on that one. So finding the church. Moral of the story,
Mm-hmm.
finding the church it's not always an easy task. So I'm glad you found one that's actually making a large-scale difference.
Yeah. Yeah, and kind of the other moral is, God, if you listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he does have a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so good to be in it, like to be in the center of it, because when you're not, you know the difference.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
what I even think about, like, I mean, it's only been a year and a half since I've been a Christian. It's like, I don't even remember how I think before. How did I think? It just seemed selfish.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And now I like constantly just looking for little miracles throughout the day, and I see them all the time, and I'm like, okay, that's God's timing. That's God's timing. And so much easier in, I don't know.
You feel, to be blessed, you know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
There's a joy in that. And that's part of, like, when you say, like, who is that? How is she like that? My life is not always perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, looking for those miracles, looking for those, that just brings you joy. That gives you true joy that you can carry with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Okay, switching motives again here, moving into your personal life. How do you manage your stress levels? Because I think this is a big part in teachings. And at the end of the day, it's like my head is foggy.
Yeah, you're exhausted. Well, like I said, you're on, right? You're on. So it's exhausting. It's almost like being a performer.
Yeah.
Truthfully.
Yes, I agree.
But you perform for 8 hours of the day. Like there's no break, really.
So what do you do?
Okay. Well, now I run.
Running.
Or
oh yes,
lift.
beautiful.
That's the endorphins that you get, you know what I mean, from that, and the clarity that you get from that. That's my outlet for sure. That's how I stay grounded. Also, I read and journal, and just try to be mindful every morning and set a purpose for my day, and meditate. And my meditation, you know, is obviously giving thanks to God and praising Him for everything that He's given me. That's how I stay grounded. Several years ago, it was chocolate. And it was not all the healthy things, and I was very unhealthy at that time.
Well, I'm glad you made the transition.
We had to find a different outlet because chocolate wasn't working out very well.
I can imagine that didn't make it any better, maybe even a little worse.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Yeah, because when your body's not operating at peak level,
yeah,
it just makes life a lot harder.
It does. You
So what does a day in the life look like? So like, I mean, I'm looking for like habits. Like, what are your daily habits?
Okay, so I wake up about 5:15 in the morning. I do still hit snooze. That's why it's 5:15 instead of like 5 o'clock. But
I can help you with that.
I know, like I know what to do to fix it. I just don't want to fix it.
I've got a trick. I promise.
I've heard
It'll
lots of
fix
good
you.
ones. But anyway, so I get up at 5:15, which works for the most part. My habits kind of start with I get up and I do a quick like 10-minute little burst of energy exercise. But before that, I have to make my bed. So like as soon as I get out of my bed, I turn around and make the bed.
Absolutely, as you should.
And then as soon as I get done with that, then I'm like Pilates or something just to get my body moving, some yoga, something to get the blood pumping. Then it's drink a full glass of water because you're going to dehydrate while you sleep at night. You got to rehydrate so that you can have your cup of coffee.
Oh my gosh, your morning schedule looks exactly like mine. What in the world's happening?
So then, I do that, and I usually listen to the news, or I listen to a podcast, or I listen to one of my recorded scriptures from a church. Like, so they record everything. It's on YouTube, so I can always go back and re-listen to sermons or whatever that I like. So I'll do that while I get ready in the morning, and then when that's done, I go to my meditation, and I spend about 5 minutes thanking God for my blessings. I spend 5 minutes reading a book and journaling about what I've gotten out of that book.
How long does it take you to journal?
I give myself about 5 to 10 minutes.
Oh, wow, you're better than me.
It just goes along. I mean, it just goes along with what I'm, and I kind of do it.
Oh, you like write about what you're.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that journal, that piece of it. Like later on in the day, I may journal too. But like for that,
okay.
It's just about this is what I've read. This is how I can apply what I've read. Because usually what I'm reading is something to better myself. Because I'm always looking for a way to be better.
Mm-hmm.
In any aspect of my life. It could be any kind of book. Right now, I'm reading the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and I'm loving it. It's all about paradigm shifts, and I've had a few since I started it. But so that's what I read, and then I journal about that kind of, and that's kind of my morning. I do that, and I have my cup of coffee while I'm doing that, and then Lola, my little Yorkie poo. She is 3.5 pounds. She is full size.
Oh no!
And so she knows my routine so well that by the time I'm ending my routine and it's time to go to work, wherever she's at in the house, she makes it back to her little kennel and gets in her kennel and waits for me to close her kennel.
That's awesome, though.
She knows it that well. So my routine is very regimented because I don't know. I just try to use every minute.
How long have you been doing that routine?
Okay, so I went to a professional development in September, and it was about basically how to bring some calmness to the classroom. And it started out with, you have to start your day that way as a teacher. Like, you have to be ready and and grounded before you can get your kids that way.
Oh.
And so it was all based on this book. It's called The Seven, oh gosh, I just went blank because that's the 7 Habits, but the 5-minute morning or something like that. I'll have to look it back up because I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. But it's all about how to start your day the best way possible.
I'll have to look into it.
And you can use it in your classroom. And so instead of doing 5 minutes to 10 minutes for each of these acts, you give it 1 minute. 1 minute for all of the same things. So 1 minute of exercise, 1 minute of meditation, 1 minute of affirmations, 1 minute of all the things to start out your morning with your students and get them ready for the day or ready for the class period.
Okay, I got you.
See?
I got you.
So anyway, that's how I started my school year, based off of that professional development.
Okay.
And yeah. Yep.
What changes have you seen since then?
I am
Mood, energy.
Yeah, I have a lot more energy for the day.
Okay.
Definitely. And I'm always like a positive. I've always been kind of a morning person, but it just sets your day with more purpose.
Gotcha.
And I'm excited about that purpose. You know what I mean? And it also gives me time to be thankful for what I have. And throughout the school year, you can start out very positive, but things can start to wear on you.
Yes.
And if you don't remind yourself of your meaning or your purpose, your mission statement, if you don't remind yourself of your blessings, as winter creeps in and the sun's not shining every morning, it wears on you if you don't have a way to combat that. So it's been my way to kind of get through the winter blues. This winter's been a much better winter because of that, I think.
Good to know. I'm going to share that with my sister. And because in Washington, I don't know about Northern California, but Washington, seasonal depression is the most legit thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, it rains from October to June.
Yeah, that would be awful.
It's cloudy every single day, dark. It's
Yeah.
like depressing all the time.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm definitely a summer girl. I'm a sunshine girl, and so it does affect me too. I get it.
Well, you're not getting the vitamin D that you need.
Right.
I mean, yeah. Okay, so what does the evening look like after we get done work?
So I have a second job most nights. So I leave school about between 3:15 if I'm really lucky, 3:45, somewhere around in there. I rush home. I let Lola out to go potty. By the way, she wears a diaper so that I don't have to keep her locked up all the time.
So you're a crazy dog lady is what you're saying. Got it. Okay.
Well, she's a stubborn dog, and she does not care where she goes to the bathroom. And then there's nothing I've been able to do to make her see the difference between it's okay to only go outside. So if I'm not there to make sure she goes outside, she will go inside. So if I don't want to have to keep her locked up in her kennel all day and all night, she has a little puppy pamper. And she does not like to go to the bathroom in her puppy pamper, so then that makes her hold it until I let her out. So that's how that works. But yeah, I let her out, make sure she's all good. And then I head to my second job. I have to be there by 4. And I work at a group home with disabled people. It's the most rewarding thing next to teaching because I'm helping people, which is why I love to teach. And I'm a caregiver at heart, and I love helping them be able to live independently and live their best life. And it's fun to see, and I love people. So, it just gives me another opportunity to love on people. It gives me my mind kind of a break from the academic part.
Yeah.
And basically it reminds me of just coming home and being a mom. I had 3 children, and now I'm down to just 1, and I share custody with her, so I only have her every other week. It kind of fills that void because I'm used to coming home and cooking dinner and doing the laundry and doing the dishes, and I do the same thing. I just do it at the group home instead of at my home.
Right.
So to me, it's like a very natural, it's not stressful, it's rewarding. Yeah, I work with great people and for great people, and so it's a good thing.
Right.
I get home from that. I usually...
Do you eat or, like, you just starve all day? Like, I don't see a minute of eating in this day.
So I eat while I do.
We fast? Like, we eat at lunch and then it's pretty much lunch the next day, or what?
No, I mean, I basically... in the morning in my coffee, I put coconut manna or, like, coconut... just like raw coconut Oh, how to explain it?
Like a butter?
Yeah, coconut butter in my coffee. So that's a really good fat source that gets your brain going in the morning.
Really?
Yeah.
I start with half an avocado.
Okay, well, I eat that too. But yeah, same idea, right? So that's my breakfast.
That's your breakfast? So you don't eat? Okay, I got you. Sorry, I didn't mean to yell. I'm looking at the voice things out here, and mine are like screaming compared to yours. But.
Yeah, so that's breakfast. But I do have like a mid-morning snack. So see, it'll be okay. At about 10:30 or so, I usually drink a protein shake. I'm very mindful of the whole, like, you're supposed to have so many grams of protein for your weight, and we're not going to talk about what that ratio, Anyway, I think it was supposed to be like 7 times.
Well, it depends on your goals.
Yeah.
Like I've recently tried to start counting my macros.
Yeah.
And it's like, consume 360 grams of protein a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like, I try. Like, that's my goal.
That's not even possible, I swear.
Yeah,
I get like 150, and I'm like, I'm stuffed all day.
Right. So that's what I try to stick with. Like, okay, to get as much protein as possible. So with as few calories or sugar as possible, because I want to be strong and lean and all the things. So yeah, I have a protein shake, and it has to have at least 20 grams of protein. Prefer the 30-gram protein shakes, but they're kind of hard to come by in Marshall. And somebody stole my Fairlife. I don't know who, but it didn't show up on my doorstep like they said it did. So they canceled my order, and I gave up. But so yeah, I do a protein shake mid-morning, and then around 12:30 or so, I might have an avocado or a protein bar or just something super. I try to stay super healthy because I'm trying to fuel my body.
Absolutely.
45 years old, my body needs me to take good care of it.
Mm-hmm. I don't think age has to do anything with that.
No, but it does. The older you get, the more your body lets you know that you have not taken care of it.
I also think, though, if you have those good habits in place,
yes,
and if you can feel the effects of good nutrients in your body, when you stop, you're gonna be like, "What happened? I'm a zombie."
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to. Yeah, I have a lot of things to do in a day, and so I want to have the energy to get them done. So yeah, I try to think of my food as fuel instead of comfort, for the most part. And I'm not always perfect, but that's kind of how. And I'm easier in the mornings to the afternoon is way easier because I haven't exhausted myself making decisions until the night. That's where things get hard. But yeah, that's kind of what I do. Then I have like a little protein bar snack thing, or an orange, or a banana, or something healthy for snack mid-afternoon, and then at night. I don't know. It kind of varies too. Like I eat protein shake, protein bar, healthy
It's like
dinner.
you need some solid food.
I do eat some, very little, because it's just me. Like Carly is not going to eat super healthy. She kind of eats like a toddler, and she is my youngest, and I'm tired. So I don't fight with her about what she eats. I just give her vitamins and feed her what she will eat, because that's where I let go. Like I'm just like, okay, you can watch me set a good example. This is what you want to eat this week. If it's mac and cheese every single night this week, then okay, it's mac and cheese every single night this week for dinner. But at lunch, she has all the food groups. Like she has, the only vegetable she's eating right now is carrots. So she gets carrots in her lunch every single day. And she, this week it's cantaloupe that we want. So we have cantaloupe in our lunch every single day. So I make sure she does get some of everything. But at night, I'm just kind of like, if it's chicken nuggets, it's chicken nuggets. If it's mac and cheese, it's mac and cheese. But she drinks the Fairlife milk, so it's high in protein, good for her. So we try to balance that kind of stuff out. But I try. I eat salads a lot for dinner. Whatever. Like I don't cook. I love to cook, but I have nobody to cook for because Carly's not going to eat the things that I cook.
Value yourself. Come on now.
I can't. I will throw out everything. Like there is. You know what I mean? It's hard enough to cook a meal for 2, and then so you'd have to like cook a 4th or an 8th, and I'm not in love with math that much to take my recipe and divide it by 8 and put that amount in everything I do. Like there's just, and I don't like to eat the same. Like I couldn't eat the same thing every night.
Yeah.
So I cook one meal a week, And I have older children, and they come over and eat it, and then we have those leftovers. Even then, I send them home with the kids, and we're like, okay, you can have this stuff. So I still cook for them about once a week, but I don't cook from just me. And Carly, like I said, she won't eat what I cook, so it is a lot of processed kind of things, which I have written down that is a goal.
We talked to this about at lunch today.
Yeah, because I mean, I get it that, protein shakes, protein bars are still processed.
They are still processed.
So.
Granted, I drink 2 a day as well. So
yeah. I mean, it is a goal for one of these days. I'm going to be working from home next year, so I will have way more opportunity.
Look at God
That's
work.
Right. See, I have plans. We'll get better.
Yeah.
But for now,
I was curious. I knew there had to be some flaw in there. Just don't eat.
I eat little. I eat very little. My body, I tell everybody, my body is just really like it doesn't need a lot of fuel for whatever reason. Like I put on weight super easy, and so I have to be really careful about how much I eat and what I eat.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be really mindful of that.
So we are at what time now? Do we work out? This is when our workout happens?
Workout usually at 7. I run for about an hour.
How many days a week?
3 days a week.
3 days a week.
And then if it's if it's the other 4 days a week, I usually take at least 1 day a week off, sometimes 2, depending on how busy my schedule is. But then on the days that I don't run for an hour, I still run a mile or 2, and then I lift for about 30, 45 minutes.
Gotcha.
So that's the workout thing, and I usually do that after work.
It's a pretty good balance. I haven't been able to disconnect myself from sports yet, so I'm still working on Logan. You can work out 4 days a week. We need to make time for other things. Studying your education craft. This should be not priority. This should be priority over physical activity. It should be. I haven't mastered that one yet.
Yeah, but
if
physical activity does more than, there's so much that it
Yes.
does for you.
I'm excessive. Like you said, like perfectionist.
Yeah.
Yes. My sister just convinced me to run a marathon with her. So I've been, every day that I run, I don't swim. But I swim for cardiovascular on the days that I don't. So, and that's like the third workout of the day. So I'm like excessive about everything.
That is a lot.
And I'm like realizing like that, okay, now you're going to run yourself into the ground. This is what you did last time. This is how you got sick. So let's find a balance here, Logan. Like,
yeah, that's hard.
It's like, well, my priorities in life have changed. So I should change with them. Obviously, physical, being active is going to be at the top, one of my top, 5 in life always, because it's a passion of mine.
Right.
But it doesn't need to be number one.
Right.
It doesn't need to prioritize over the top of reading my Building Things Classroom book every night. It probably shouldn't be over top of that.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
Not every night, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Not every night.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to accept.
Yeah.
But, so, on my last couple of questions, I have 3 left here. I promise you, I don't mean taking all of your time up, but what is some advice you would give to yourself 15 years ago?
Oh, definitely the Miracle Morning. That's what it's called. The Miracle Morning.
Miracle Morning. Okay.
Yes, the Miracle Morning. Yeah, that's what I would have taught myself 15 years ago for sure. Yeah.
Miracle Morning.
Yep.
Gotcha. Looking into the future now. When you look 10 years into the future, how do you see yourself?
Retired.
Retired. Oh.
For sure, right? No. Oh, gosh, there's so many different things. Who knows what God has in store? I know passions that I have will always be part of my life, so...
I'm going to say, I don't see you ever stopping working.
Yeah, no, probably not. But I won't have to focus on the money I'm making as much as the passion.
Right.
So that's exciting to think about. So when I say retire, I just mean not depending on what I do to live off of.
Yeah, to fund your life.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of what I say when I mean when I say retire. I could see myself in so many different scenarios, but they all really truly still have to do with helping people, educating people, growing. They all have to do with that.
Miracle Morning. I have to write that one down.
Yeah, I have the book in my office.
I have to read it.
It's so good, and it's like this thick. Like, okay, you can't see my finger, so it's like what, half an inch?
Oh, so it's like a weekend read.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I told you I read it in like a weekend.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is, and it's so powerful.
Yes. All of the habit books. I just read, or didn't read, I listened to The Power of Self-Discipline. You should read that one. Oh.
Yeah, no doubt.
I feel like it was speaking to me. Like the book, the guy wrote it about my life. I was like, how'd you know that? How do you know the way I think?
Right? All the personality types, that's how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally. It's like, no wonder this book is so popular because so many people relate to it.
Yeah.
And that's like how anything gets
Yeah.
publicity.
Yeah, I know. So that's on my list of things to try to do while I work from home. Because in my mind, I'm going to have all this extra time.
Yeah, you know.
I mean, I just feel like I am. Like, I'm going to teach online because I'm going to miss students, and I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to do a podcast because this is fun. And
it is fun.
In
That's
my
what I'm
mind, like,
saying.
there's all kinds of time for these things that I want to do.
That's what I finally realized. Like when I'm saying dropping some of the working out, I want to put it into this. Like
it goes back to like your goals, like what are your goals,
Yes.
and then putting your time to those goals.
Yes.
Yeah, and then also though taking care of the goose, right? So the whole golden egg versus the goose.
Okay. Yes, absolutely.
You have to you can't keep
Yeah. You
you can't keep taking out of the source. You have to replenish the source of your egg, which is your income or your whatever, your output. So
chasing your passions and whatnot.
yeah.
Okay, my last question I'll leave you with is, what is your definition of success?
Good. I don't know. I guess I'm just going to go with how, at the end of the day, whether I know that it's been a good day. Did I make a difference?
So that's like a day-to-day success, not so much as a long-term.
Honestly, I just look at it day to day, like, what did I do today? You know what I mean? That I can be proud of. And what do I want to do tomorrow to make it even better? Like, to me, that's just it. Like, I don't think you ever reach success.
Really?
I don't. Because there's always you always can be more successful, right? You can always do something better. You can always do something.
Does that
new.
mean you're not successful?
No, because at the end of the day, I'm proud of something.
So you are successful.
Every day.
Okay.
But it doesn't end.
What if success
There's
was?
no plateau.
What if success in a large scale to you? Completing a goal or something.
Yeah. Completing goals is success for sure.
Okay.
So very goal oriented.
Yeah. Okay. That is all I have. Thank you, Julie Gass, for coming on. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun.
Thank you for listening to the Walk of Life podcast.